Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rocking North Carolina from home. I'm Marta Torin with Appalachian State University's Geology Department. And you're probably here because you might have gotten one of these little pouches and you're wondering what to do with the items inside. So I'm going to walk through some activities with you. So let's get started. So do you know the names of any rocks or minerals already? Which do you know already? Just think about it for a minute. Maybe you like collecting rocks and you've done it for a while. Maybe you have a little mineral collection. You might have been gem mining, or you might be a rock enthusiast because you play a lot of Minecraft. So you might be able to recognize some of the blocks. Maybe you've seen quartz or obsidian or things like sandstone or granite. These are the names of real rocks and minerals. So hopefully by the end of the presentation, you're able to identify some of these, like what they look like in real life and be able to point them out to people. So, we're talking about why should anyone care about rocks and minerals? Like, why is that important? Well, if you think about it, you probably wouldn't be sitting on your chair or standing wherever you are or lying down if it weren't for rocks. Like we literally would not be able to be sitting because we would be sinking into the lava, right? So the rocks are what are holding us up, but they're also all around us, like materials that are around us in the room you're in. So many of them come from rocks, and we wouldn't have these materials and these items if it wasn't for geology. So just take a minute now, if you want, pause the video to look around you and write all the things in the room that you are at right now that are made from rocks or rock products. So these are materials that you need to mine to get out. So, and if you have siblings or if you're working in a group with others, you can share them after. Now, what about things that aren't? Because obviously not everything around me right now is made from rocks. So maybe you can list some of the things that are not made from rocks. So now we're going to take out the little bag that comes inside your cloth pouch. There's a little bag, and we're going to do an activity called Everyday Minerals. Okay, so these are the items that you have, just like in my picture. And you're going to take them out, and you're going to make two piles, those that come from rocks and those that do not come from rocks. And just to help you out, I'm going to give you a little kind of mantra that we have in geology, which is if they do not grow, or if it does not grow, it must be mined. Basically, anything that does not grow naturally in the world has to be mined. We have to get it out through our knowledge of geology. Okay, so think about that while you're classifying your objects. So we've got the cotton disc, the index card. Get them out. The metal tab. Okay, that's the metal tab. The chalk, the cork, little teeny tile, the glass marble, and the pencil. All right, so separate them into two categories or two piles. Come from rocks, do not come from rocks. If you need a little more time, you can pause the video. Now let's go through them. What did you say for cotton disc? Yes, come from rocks, or no? It does not come from rocks because it grows, right? This comes from a plant. The plant grows, the cotton plant, and therefore it does not come from rocks. Okay, what about the next one, the index card? Yes, comes from rocks or not? That's right. It does not come from rocks. No, because it comes from trees, fibers, cellulose fibers from trees and plants, and those grow. Therefore, it does not come from rocks. All right, the plastic top, does that come from rocks? Does it grow? Does it grow somewhere? Where does plastic come from? Have you ever wondered? It does come from rocks. Plastic comes from the same oil that gasoline comes from, that you put in the cars. And if it weren't for geology, if we didn't have an understanding of what rocks contained oil and how to get the oil out of rocks, we would not have any plastic. So we wouldn't have the bottle tops, we wouldn't have any phone components because so many are made from plastic. Things like my stapler over here, the cars, most of the outside body of the car is made of plastic. So we wouldn't have any of these things, right? What about the cork? The cork. What is the cork? Oh, sorry, I missed a couple there. Oh yeah, I missed a couple. Let's go back to the metal tab. The metal tab, yes or no? Where does this come from? Metals do come from rocks. So yes, comes from rocks. And metals, I actually have one here that is really clear to see. If you look over here next to the little blue dot, that yellow thing right there, that cube, okay, that is a cube of pyrite, which is a mineral containing iron. So you can see, and this is a rock from North Carolina. So be on the lookout because you might be able to find one of these rocks that also has a little, I have a bunch, there's a bunch in this one. There's one there, one there. You can actually see the cubes of iron really well. So yes, they come from rocks. Chalk, does it grow? Does it come from anything that grows? No, it doesn't. It does come from rocks, therefore. It does come from rocks. It comes from soft rocks, chalk. And the cork, where does the cork come from? No, it does not come from rocks. It comes from tree bark, therefore it grows, right? So it does not come from rocks. And the tile also comes from rocks. Okay, we have a lot of rocks containing the ingredients for ceramic here in North Carolina. What about the glass marble? That is a hard one. Does it come from rocks? Does it come from anything that grows? Have you ever wondered where glass comes from? It actually does come from rocks because glass comes from sand. You melt, the sand gets melted at very high temperatures and it becomes liquid, and then they form sheets with it, and that's where the glass comes from. And sand comes from rocks that have crumbled away. So yes, it does come from rocks. And finally, the pencil. What do you think about the pencil? That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Okay, so we know the wood does not come from rocks, right? It comes from trees that grow. But what about the tip? Do you know what the tip is? It's called lead, but it's not actually lead, because if it were lead, it would be really poisonous if you put it in your mouth. So this is not poisonous. And what the material is called graphite, which does come from rocks. So the pencil is kind of would be like a trick one. So it would be yes and no. So yes, the tip, no, the wood. Good job. So you can look around and keep looking at other materials around you and what things are made from rock, what aren't. And you can test each other, or you can ask other members of your family, see if they get it right. So here are the answers. Okay, now there are a couple handouts that you might have with your package, so you can do them. You might have a version of this one on the left, which has the pictures, or you might have another one that is a little bit for more advanced grades, where you can write the words in. It's got a little bit more writing, but both are for this activity. Okay, so look and see which one you have, or you can always print out one from our website, and I will provide the link at the end. All right. Oh, this is a repeat. So our Earth is one big old mass of solid and melted rock. So as we mentioned, we wouldn't be sitting here or standing where you are if it weren't for these rocks, right? We would be melting into the lava. And if you picture the Earth, I don't know if you've ever had a cake pop. So there's like soft cake in the inside, and then on the outside there's a thin layer of chocolate, or like strawberry, like a strawberry shell. Or you've had one of these syrups that you put on ice cream and becomes like a hard shell that you can crack. Picture the rocks on the Earth like that. So these are the solid rocks that form just a pretty thin layer around a bunch of melted rock and metal, which is the core of the Earth, right? So geology has allowed us to extract some of these resources that come in this crust. in this crust of the earth. And we use them for transportations, for things like cars and trains and planes, but also for buildings and for technology. As we saw, everything that is technology based is completely made up of materials that are mined. So your video games, phones, computers, any kind of like microscopes, any kind of machine like that, or big machines like telescopes, they're all made from materials that have been mined. Um, so geologists study all these materials. So if you think about the materials around your room, but think about the room as being the earth as being one big room, and all these materials that it's made up of. That's what geologists study. So they don't study living things, like they wouldn't study animals or plants, unless some geologists do study animals, but animals that have turned into rock. Do you know what those are called? Or plants that have turned into rock? Fossils. Yeah, so paleontologists are a type of geologists. They only study these because they have turned into rock. But just to make a point real quick here, geologists also study things like water, like rivers, how they formed, how old they are, how quickly they flow, what kind of materials are dissolved in the river. They also study things like volcanoes and earthquakes, so things that formed rocks or that destroyed rocks. So all these things are what geologists study. So maybe this is something that you'd be interested in the future. So now I want you to imagine these really valuable emeralds, the most valuable emeralds you can imagine, so big and so sparkly and green, really precious gems. And a rock in the shape of the devil's head. So sometimes rocks form all kinds of shapes. And sometimes rocks are made entirely of skeletons of animals that lived hundreds of millions of years ago, like this one. This one is at least 400 million years old. And also imagine the purest quartz in the world, which is so valuable that it's kept under the highest security measures, because quartz is in every electronic component. So your phone has quartz in it, your computer has quartz in it, TVs have quartz. So in all these little circuits, there's quartz. So it's really valuable. And it's kept under high security because it's so valuable. And imagine a rock so soft you can easily shave it with a cheese grater to make pottery and paints. And rocks that make glitter, rocks that make glitter. All of these and more geologic wonders are right here in our state of North Carolina. So we're really lucky that we live in a state that has so many different rocks and minerals. And so it gives us plenty to study, right? So there's other states that don't have as many, but we see all kinds of rocks represented in North Carolina. So this looks like a kind of complicated map, but I just want to show you like all these different colors are different types of rocks. And sometimes what happens is that you have like rocks mixed too. So some of the colors actually mix together. So you might find a rock that looks like nothing you've studied because maybe it's in the process of turning into another rock over like thousands of years. So, so there's all kinds of different rocks. And if you want to know what rocks your house sits on or your school, you can click on this link in the bottom, which I will provide these lights at the end. And you can click on it and type your address, and it will tell you what the rocks underneath your feet are. So if you find one in your yard, you know, it might be one of these that are found there. So I think I clicked the link, but it's going to take a little bit too low. So I'll let you do that. Let's go back to our slides. It's wanting. Okay, so the different North Carolina is divided into 3 general regions. These are geologic regions. So this is based on the kind of rocks that are primarily in this region. So we have the Blue Ridge, we have the Piedmont, and we have the coastal plain. So they have generally different kinds of rocks, although some rocks you're going to find in all of them or in 2 of them and so on. So to narrow it down, because there's so many rocks in North Carolina, I have made a list of the main ones. So you can learn about them too by going to these websites in the bottom that you can check out after you watch this video. So there's one in English and there's the same version in Spanish. So you can even practice your Spanish as well, if that's not your first language. So there's you can learn about rocks of North Carolina and also minerals of North Carolina. So now let's look at what you have in your kit. So in your kit, you probably have 6 rocks. Some of you might have 8 actually, but we didn't have enough for all the 2,000 kits. So you might have 6, but that's fine. You might have the same ones that I do. Okay. There are 4 from North Carolina. The top ones: granite, gneiss, sandstone, and shale. And then there's 2 that are not from North Carolina, but they're really good examples of the type of rock they are. So we included them in this kit so you learn about it too. And then when you go to other states that might have them, you're able to recognize them. A quick note that I want to make is that if your 2 of your rocks look kind of gray and you can't really tell what they are because it kind of looks gray, if you dip them in water, it really brings out their color. So if you see my pictures, these are the same rocks, and look how much the color is brought up when you put them in water, and then you can identify them much easier. So take a minute to do that if you'd like, with the 2 rocks that look gray. You can't really tell them apart. Okay, so as we mentioned, all 3 main types of rocks are represented in North Carolina. And we mentioned the state is organized into geologic regions. Now, if you're in 4th grade or 5th grade, you might have already studied the types of rocks. So the words like sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic might ring a bell. If not, no problem. You're now going to learn how the 3 main types of rocks are formed. Okay, and we can actually learn this whole rock cycle in our state because we have all these different rocks. Okay, so geologists, like other scientists that work out in the field, they make lots of drawings and take notes, especially because you can't bring a whole mountain home, right? So you need to take notes right there when you're in the field based on whatever you're observing that day. So always carry a little notebook around so you can make your observations. There's also rocks that you cannot bring home because they're part of like a state park or a national park. So of course you can take photographs, but also, some things don't show up in the pictures as well. So you could take a photo and also take some notes or do some sketches, carry some color pencils, and, start a really great nature journal. So we're going to do a little activity now. So take out your 6 rocks. And first, what is the first thing you notice about these rocks? What is the first thing you notice? Yeah, you probably notice that they're very different from one another, right? They're very different. So have you ever wondered why rocks are so different from one another? Why do you think that is? Well, let's see. If I show you this cake, what ingredients do you think this cake has? Can you list some of the ingredients? Okay, so we have frosting. Yeah. We have things like strawberries. Those of you, there might be whipped cream too. Those of you who know how to bake or who like baking know that there's probably eggs in there for the sponge part, sponge cake part. There's probably maybe a little bit of oil, flour, or sugar. Right? So all these are the ingredients of the cake. Now, the ingredients are not the only thing that make this cake the way it is. It's also the way it was made. So this cake was made in layers, and then it was covered in frosting, and then the strawberries were neatly placed around to make this decoration. You have the fillings in the middle. So this cake is the way it is because of the ingredients and because of the way it was made. But if we take a different cake, it has different ingredients. It looks very different. It has different ingredients. It has like chocolate, maybe some ice cream in the middle, or fudge of some sort, and it has this jelly on the top, the strawberry jelly. And this cake was also made in a different way, right? So both cakes are different because of their ingredients and the different ways they were made. And this is just like rocks. So if you have this rock right here, and I'm going to show you, okay, this rock has different ingredients than this one. Okay, look, they're totally different colors, different crystals in them. They're different ingredients because not only do they have different ingredients, but they're also made in different ways. And if you see another one, this one, okay, so this one is also fun. It's also made in a very different way, right? This geode, yeah. So Rocks are different because they have different ingredients. They're called minerals and they're made in different ways. They're formed in different ways. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to take a piece of paper out and I want you to draw a volcano, really basic outline of a volcano on one side of the paper. But make sure it's not in the middle, but it's on one side because you're gonna have to do two more things. So you might want to pause the video if you want. Okay, then the next drawing I want you to do is a pile. So I want you to draw a pile on the other end of the blank sheet of paper. I want you to draw a pile. And remember, if at any point you need more time, just pause the video. Okay, so we're looking at how rocks are made. Okay. And the third thing I want you to draw is an oven. Now your oven is probably going to be a lot better than mine. Mine is really crooked. But just something that looks like an oven. All right, so when you have your three drawings, okay, what do these show? What do these represent? So these are the ways in which, the three main ways in which rocks are formed. So the first one is volcanoes. Some rocks are formed in the inside the volcano. They harden inside the volcano. It's really hot. Then they harden as they're closer to the surface. But others are formed when the lava comes out of the volcano. It flows out of the volcano and then they harden outside. And those two are two different types of rocks, right? But they're both volcanic rocks. So that's one way. So the other way, okay, so we're going to do these rocks first. Okay, so you have a volcanic rock in your pouch. It's called scoria, and the way to identify it is because it's red. It has little holes. It's pretty light, and the little holes are caused from bubbles of gas that were trapped during the eruption of the volcano. So it hardened around the bubbles with these little bubbles, and then left those as little holes. So that is scoria or lava rock. Okay. Another example of these, which you might know, is pumice. And pumice, look how light it is that I can even hold it with one hand. Okay, it's really, really light and it actually floats. So you might have a piece of pumice. If someone does a pedicure, sometimes they have them for pedicures, really light, but this is also one of these rocks that was lava and then it hardens outside the volcano and it becomes pumice. Okay. Great. So place your scoria on top of the volcano or inside the volcano cloud there. The other volcanic rock that looks very different is granite. And this is a granite, okay? And the way to tell the granite is that it has this texture that looks like salt and pepper. Sometimes it has big crystals like this pink one right here. Sometimes they're pink, but most of the time they're black and white. Let me see if I have this bigger one back here. This is the core. We get these cores out of the ground to see what kind of rocks are underneath them. And this is a really good example of granite. So you're always going to have this salt and pepper texture, but sometimes this is pink granite, for example, you're going to have these big crystals. And sometimes the crystals are going to be smaller, like really like salt and pepper, like smaller little bits and pieces. Okay, so that is granite. Okay, so both of these rocks are volcanic rocks, and the word for them is also igneous. Igneous means fire. It means fire. So what other ways are rocks made? The other way is through bits and pieces. And what this means is that they're made from other rocks or from other earth materials that were in bits and pieces and that got cemented together, got stuck together. So in your bag, in this case, this is mud rock or shale. It comes in a little baggie, or it might be loose. And if it's loose, or even if it's in the baggie, it's so delicate that a lot of times it falls apart. So this one's actually harder, but you can see this is shale. And this one is, you can see that it's broken apart. So, you see these little layers all broken apart. That is mud rock or shale, okay? And this is literally mud that has cemented together and formed into rock, okay? So that's mud rock or shale. The other kind of rock that is made from bits and pieces is sandstone. And sandstone looks like, exactly like its name says, a bunch of sand that has gotten stuck together, so cemented together over the years. So this is sandstone, sandstone, and mud rock. Okay, so they're very easy names to remember. One is made from mud, the other is made from little bits and pieces of sand. Okay, so and sand is other rocks that have eroded away or have crumbled away. Um, so these two are made from bits and pieces, and they are sedimentary rocks. Okay, another example of a sedimentary rock is this, which is it's called the coquina, which is made from shells. So you can literally see the shells, right? Like there's a couple big pieces, but everything you see that is like beige are little bits of shell that have gone stuck together. And likewise, they where is my limestone? This is a limestone, and this is the one. This is also one that is made from skeletons of animals, in this case, that lived millions of years ago, hundreds of millions of years ago. This one is from Ohio, and you can see the shell right there. That's a prehistoric marine organism right there. Okay, and you can see a ton of little fossils. So this is literally a rock that has been made from fossils. It's called limestone. So that would also be in that pile. You might have one, but you might not. You could find one. Okay, and the third kind of rocks, these are rocks that are formed from other rocks, like some volcanic rocks or sedimentary rocks on either side that have been exposed or have been submitted to a lot of heat and pressure. So they're under heat. They're like baked. They're rocks that have been like baked by the earth. They don't get put in an oven. This is just a drawing, just to kind of symbolize. It's a symbol of what it is, but it's they're just rocks that have been heated up a lot by the earth and squished by the earth. And you can see here, for example, how this one has formed layers. It's like squished, right? All these crystals have been squished. And this one too, sometimes they look like swirls and other times they look like bands. So these are rocks that have been in heat and pressure underground, okay? And these are called metamorphic because meta means change, and morphic means shape, so change shape. So they've changed shapes. So if you look at the most amazing one is, well, the one on the picture right now is nice, which is it's like you say you're really nice, but spelled differently. It has white and black bands. So your rock might have one line or it might have more than one, but the rock that has a line or more that are black and white, that's nice. Okay, so I have this one, but I also have this one that is also nice. That looks very different, but you can see the black and white bands. Okay, so that is a rock called gneiss, and it's a metamorphic rock. The other metamorphic rock that is amazing is marble, and marble is this really white one you have in your pouch. Sometimes you might have seen pink marble, or you might have seen marble that has different patterns, or like black or yellow lines, or pink, all kinds of types of marble. It could be a darker marble, and marble is amazing because it is actually limestone, which is the one that I showed you before, that has been in heat and pressure and becomes this. So a rock that used to be made of fossils, it was fossils first. These fossils died a long time ago. They became, their skeletons got stuck together, turned into rock. And then this rock gets in the ground, it's under very high heat and pressure. It gets squished and it turns into marble. It's pretty awesome. So that's our last one in the heat rocks, and these are metamorphic rocks. Okay, if you want, you can write some examples on your piece of paper. If you want to keep the piece of paper, you can write some of the examples that we have gone over. If not, you can throw the piece of paper away. Okay, and here are some more words for you, especially if you are in third or fourth grade and you want to start learning some of these words for when you do it in class. You can start practicing writing them and practicing saying them, because some of them are a little hard to say, like igneous and sedimentary. So write this down. You might pause it if you want. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do another activity. So we're going to look at where are these rocks in North Carolina. So we know there's a lot of different kinds of rocks in North Carolina, but where are they found? Okay, and this is also going to help you practice the names of the rocks a little more too. So take out your 6 rocks again, put them in a corner, and look for this map. So you probably have this map in the package you got, or something that looks like this, or is folded into like a trifold, like little pamphlet. Okay, but it's going to look something like this, and it's probably going to have the same squares, the names. Okay, so if you look for it, we are now going to see which are the rocks that go where, and you can see where they're found depending on where you are. So are they near you? Are they far away? Are they somewhere you've been on vacation? And next time you go, you can try to find them in the wild. So let's get started then. Okay, so we are going to take a rock trip. Okay, we're going to take a rock trip with Rocco and Slater, who are these rocks. Okay, so remember, have your map ready. Okay, and your rocks. Okay, the first stop is Mount Airy, North Carolina. So we're going to start there. Okay, and you can read along. You can read the dialogue along. Don't see many rocks around here, Rocco. Well, technically, Slater, all these buildings are made from rock materials, and so is the road and the cars. But we're heading for the Mount Airy Granite Quarry. Cool, check out these huge blocks of granite, Slater. Did you know this is the biggest open phase granite quarry in the world? Did you guys know that? So now let's check out this rock a little more closely. So this is the salt and pepper rock. Hopefully you remember it's granite. So look for it in your pile. Okay, look for the granite in your pile. And yeah, it's this one. Okay, look for the salt and pepper texture, and you are going to put it on the box where it says granite. Okay, right here, you're going to put it on the table, place it on it. There you go. All right, so that's the first stop. Okay, let's see what else. If you're in Mount Airy, you can try to look for the granite. All right, next up is Blowing Rock, North Carolina. Dude, the Blue Ridge Parkway, breathe in the fresh mountain air, Slater. Dude, I'm from Boone. I've been breathing in mountain air for the last billion years. Some of the rocks up here, up in Blowing Rock and Boone, are among the oldest in the world. They're billions of years old. There's the beautiful Blowing Rock Formation. Those must be App State geology students checking it out too. Yeah, these guys are on a trip during a class. So when you go to college, you'll be able to go on all these really cool trips too. So they're looking at the kind of rock that this big mountain is made of. So if you look closely, you'll see that it's this rock that we call gneiss. So it's like you're nice, but spelled a little different. So you're looking for the rock that has the lines, the black and white lines, okay? So here's mine again. There it is. Okay, and you're gonna place that on the Blue Ridge region for Blowing Rock right there. Okay, all right, so we have 2 down now. Okay, and they stopped, the 2 rock buddies stopped by to get some fudge at Kiltwings. And fudge obviously looks like a lot of different rocks, especially the ones with the big chunks, kind of like this one. You know, you can see this kind of looks like fudge too, with nuts. All right, the next stop on our tour is Spruce Pine, North Carolina. Now, this is a rock that you might or might not have. I don't think I actually have it with me right now, but we can. But you'll be able to see the picture in a minute. And here we are in Spruce Pine Mining District, home of the clearest quartz and most precious jewels. I got a little chunk of quartz right here. Check it out. Check out this chunk of quartz that I have. Do you have some quartz in your collection too? It's very common in North Carolina. So you might have some too. And I got some more over here, I'm sure. Check out this quartz. There's another one, really cool. And I have a bunch of, see all these different quartzes? Yeah, so that's from Spruce Pine. Okay, we should do some gem mining, Rocco. Seriously, Slater, that's for amateurs and kids. You're a geologist. Let's go find the real ones in the mountains. Ooh, that looks like an interesting metamorphic rock. Let's get up closer to check it out. So This rock is called schist, and you can recognize it because it has flakes of this mineral called mica, and we have a lot of mica in North Carolina. And mica is also used in cell phones and in computer circuits. So if you have this rock, it's one that's really sparkly. And if not, if you don't have it, then your challenge is to try to find one. So um, I will show you the mica. And you might have a little baggie of North Carolina minerals. If you have the little baggie that says North Carolina minerals, you're probably going to have mica in it. So this is mica. And this is what glitter comes from. Where most glitter, the real glitter, not some of it doesn't, but the real glitter, the original one, that's where it comes from. And if you have any glitter makeup, you will see mica, M-I-C-A, as one of the materials in the ingredients in it. So you can look for that in the label. So the next one we're going to go to is the Triassic Basin near Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is where they found the bones of Archie, which is a Triassic reptile. And the Triassic comes before the Jurassic. So that means that these animals that lived in North Carolina were around before things like the T-Rex were around. So we've actually found some bones in this quarry near Raleigh, North Carolina. And they were found in a brick quarry. So North Carolina is a place that also has a big production of bricks. We make a lot of bricks, and the bricks are made from this rock, which is it's a mud rock, right? It's one of these mud rocks. So you have them in your pouch. So this is the one you can put on the map for the Triassic Basin. And this is Archie right here, which is the nickname we gave to the Aedosaur fossil that was found here. And if you come to App State for a visit, you can actually see a life-size statue of Archie in our rock garden, and you can take a cool selfie with it. So look out for it. So here is the sedimentary rock known as mud rock, as we talked about earlier. Okay, so put that one on your map. Okay, what is the next stop? The next stop is we're getting to the coast. So we're going to start seeing some sandstone down here. Some of the sandstone is pretty hard to see, like you'd actually have to dig a bit. So you might not see any around, but there's some in Benson, North Carolina. And that looks like mud rock too. Aren't we looking for sandstone? Yes, we are. Glad you've been paying attention, buddy, but both are sedimentary rocks. So they could look similar from a distance. Let's take a closer look, because remember, mud rock is kind of smooth. It's like mud that has turned into rock, and sandstone is going to have the little grains of sand, and you're going to be able to feel them and see them. So, oh, look at that beautiful sandstone, don't you think, Slater? And sandstone sometimes is going to have some red streaks or some like gray streaks, but you're going to be able to see the little grains of sand, and it's going to feel rough. All right, last up, the beach. Well, not quite, but close. Okay, so we're going to go to Castle Hayne, North Carolina. It's near Wilmington. So take in the sights later. This is Wilmington. Let's hit a coffee shop before checking out the Castle Hayne Formation. There's that limestone, Slater. All those millions of marine fossils compressed into rock. And if we look closer, it's going to have like a rough texture, and you're often going to be able to see the fossils. So you might not have limestone in your pouch. You probably won't, but I do right here. So I'm going to show you. This is the one I showed you earlier. You can see all these little ocean creatures, right? So that have turned into fossils and turned into stone. So you have things like shells and coral and things like that. Okay. So that's limestone. Oh, finally on the beach, Rocco. Being a geologist is hard work, don't you think? Being a rock is hard work. So that concludes our rock trip. So other than knowing what each rock is and where they're found, and the fact that they're so important because they make up all these different things like buildings and cars and planes, it's also important to know about rocks because you get things like this, these big sinkholes. So these are literally huge holes that open up and they swallow up roads, they swallow up cars or houses. And what happens is that we build these structures on on rocks that are very soft rocks. They're sedimentary rocks, and they're going to there's the water underneath the ground. We have a lot of water underneath, and this is actually where the wells get their water from and stuff. This water is going to react with the rocks, and they're gonna crumble, and they're gonna take the road with them and the cars with them. So it's important to know about rocks because we need to know what we're building on. So if you're going to build a football stadium, you don't want to build it out of a mud rock like this, because it's a mud rock. You want to build it on top of like granite or something hard. And that's why we take these cores, the cylinders. So we've talked about, so this is kind of like another review. We've looked at all these different kinds of rocks, and some that we haven't, like gabbro, which is like a dark granite, but you can learn more about them on the website. Okay, so if you if you like learning about the 6 rocks that we went through, make sure to check out the website and do some exploring there and see if so you can identify some other rocks that you might find in your collection, or you might find when you go outside and you find some. Other things you can check out are these Padlets, which are it's another type of website where you can learn more about rocks. So you can click on these links if you want to learn even more. And you can read it along with your family too. And there are other activities. So if you want to do a project on rocks, we have other activities for that. So you can go to the website, and maybe you want to pick one rock and you want to do a little project around it, and maybe present it to a group of friends or to your family members, or just for your own interest. You could also make like a little booklet for yourself too, with information of all the rocks that you have in your collection. So these activities will help with that. You can also explore rocks through Legos. So Legos can act like the minerals in rocks. So you can understand that if you have a pile of Legos and you use them, you can use them to make one block. And all the different little bricks, all the different colors represent different minerals. So you can learn about this activity too through our website, and I have included the link. And as I mentioned, I'm going to include this presentation in the bottom so you can click on all this. And here's another example of the Lego activity where you can turn granite into gneiss, which is the one with the bands. If you want to learn about how rocks are extracted from the ground, how we take them out of the ground, learn more about mining and quarries, there is a little video that Vulcan has put together that is pretty neat. So you can learn about how they get these rocks out of the ground and what a mining company does. And you can do this activity with that. So to wrap up, why should you care about rocks? Well, because they are all around you. I would love to see some pictures of your nature journal, with drawings of rocks and descriptions of rocks, or a picture of all the rocks in your collection. And you can also put them on, if you have on Facebook or Instagram, and you can tag Appalachian Geological and Environmental Sciences on it so we can check them out. Or you can send them to my email directly too. And hopefully now also when you play video games, you'll be able to recognize some of these rocks. So you might have played Fortnite or seen someone that playing Fortnite, and this is one of the rocks in Fortnite. So what kind of rock do you think this is? Do you know what this rock is? This is actually a sandstone. So if you got closer, you'd be able to see the sand grains. But from here, we can tell it's a sandstone. It's got like these reddish bands, sometimes orange or yellow. So this is a sandstone. Or you might be able to recognize a lot of different blocks here when you make your Minecraft creations. But you should also learn about rocks because there are a lot of jobs that have to do with that have to where you it helps to have to understand what kind of rocks are out there and to be interested in it. So to be interested in rocks and minerals. So there's all kinds of different jobs, and you might have gone a little brochure with cool, like a little pamphlet with cool jobs in geosciences. If not, you can get it also from our website, and you can learn about what a volcanologist does, what a museum curator does, or an environmental scientist. So definitely look at it, and maybe you get some ideas for the future. Okay, so that is it for our presentation. I have included our social media accounts that you can follow, your parents can follow, and if you have any questions at all, my email will be on below the video as well. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you got excited about the rocks in your little pouch, and that is the start of your rock collection, or you can add them to your existing rock collection. Bye, everyone.